Does it seem like no matter how much you say a thing, you're constantly feeling like your husband does not understand you? I want to give you 3 reasons that this is happening. The first reason is because you may be speaking from your emotions instead of with clarity. Listen, I understand we all have moments where we get overwhelmed, we feel frustrated, and we're hurt or angry. And of course, it's natural that from those emotions, we want to express what we're thinking or feeling. However, when we're in that high level of intensity, it's very rarely do we speak with clarity. Now, men and women are different. So he's listening for logic and he wants to hear a simple way of understanding. So if you're speaking from emotions and it's all emotion driven, he probably does not understand what you're saying. So here's a few things you can do to help with that. 1, take time before the conversation and maybe journal out what it is you really want him to know. And I need you to go deeper, not just expressing the anger and the frustration of how, but what is it? If you weren't angry, what is the end result you want? If you can get clear about that, then you can communicate that more effectively. Because as long as you're in that emotional state of the anger, the frustration, the hurt, or the overwhelm, the clarity of that will get all mixed up and jumbled up in what you're trying to say. So again, try to journal it. Maybe use your voice messages on your phone to blurt it all out, to get it out of your head, to get through the emotions of it. And so that way you can eventually get to the clarity of it, what it is you're trying to say. And then I encourage you to ask your husband, can we sit down and I want to explain to you how I feel. Remember to speak in terms of how I feel, the I words, and what I need. Because I promise you, in every situation, what you're trying to do is you're trying to get a need met. And so I want you to learn how to speak from a position of, it makes me feel sad, hurt, disappointed when this happens, because what I really need is your connection, your understanding, your clarity, your sincerity. You have to get clear about what you need and what it is that you're not getting emotionally so that you can communicate that more effectively. That's the first thing. The second issue you may be having in this communication is that you've been hurt and disappointed for so long that you show up in the communication already in defense mode. You're ready to fight. You're ready to prove your point. You're ready to counteract what he has to say. And as long as you're in that space, he will not hear you, because guess what? You guys didn't show up to the conversation for understanding. You showed up to win. And as long as there's a winner, there has to be a loser. But the sad thing about that is, it's not that you would lose or he loses, the marriage loses. So I want you to start thinking about calming down before the conversation, trying to learn how to process the hurt and the anger from the past so that it doesn't show up in the present conversation. Now, I know that's not easy, and I know that's going to take work, but that is your work. If you really want to be understood by your husband, that's the work that's going to be required, because you can't keep taking the past hurts and pains into the present conversation. Because guess why? You're going to stay in that defense mode. You're going to stay in the fight or flight mode. You're going to constantly want to be right and prove your point, because you've been trying to prove this point for a long time. So that is where you may need help. You may need a coach to help you process through those things. And that's exactly what I do. I help my clients get clear about what it is that she's really trying to gain, the need that she's trying to communicate, and then the energy or the hurt and the pain from the past that's showing up in the present moment. When you learn to do that, you'll be able to communicate with your husband in a space where you're connecting instead of fighting one another for the win. So the third reason that you guys are struggling to feel connection through communication, where you think that he doesn't understand you, is because instead of holding to your truth, the thing that you want clarity and validation for, you need your emotions validated. Instead of you standing on, this is what I'm communicating, this is what I need, you're holding on to the outcome that you're hoping will happen because you said that with clarity. Now, we can't be responsible for their outcomes. They may not validate what we just said. They may not give us the hug that we need. They may not say you're right. but you can still hold on to your truth in this situation. If your truth is, I've done the best I can do, I've done all I can, I've worked really hard to communicate effectively with you. And what you want to hear or experience after you've said that is, baby, you're right, you've done it. I'm sorry, I didn't show up. But when you don't get that, that just triggers more hurt, shame, and pain for you. And so now you guys are right back at that space of arguing. Listen, it is important that you learn how to speak your truth and not be so locked to the outcome so that you can stand in that. And this is what happens most of the time with most men, not all. Once they hear your truth, they hear your heart, you've been able to speak with clarity, you've been able to express to them how you feel. A husband that cares, who's really trying, he may need a little while to process what you just told him. Give him that time and that space to process. And then once he does that, you may then get that outcome you're hoping for. That hug, those words of validation, the agreement that, oh, okay, now I see it your way. But what you can't do, and what many times he can't do, is communicate as effectively as you are in the heat of the battle. Men need time to process. Where for us, we just think a thing and we say a thing. He has to think a thing and mull over it. So you've just given him a lot of information, a lot of new information. If you communicated that with clarity, without all the emotions, but with the, I feel sad, I feel hurt, and I need this or I need that, and you've clearly communicated that, give him some time. I promise you, he loves you. He'll come back. He'll process what you said. And then he'll come back and be able to validate you in those emotional spaces that you want validation in. I pray that this has been a blessing to you. I want to say thank you so much for watching. I want to work with you. I do not want to see another marriage end in divorce simply because you as a couple are struggling with communication. Let me help you. Reach out to me at berrythoughtfullife.com.